Welcome to part 2 of my contribution into the Porsche Group Build, hosted by Chuck's Hobby Spot, BG's Model Workshop, and the Lucas E channel. In part 1, I got the dumb idea of adding the most inappropriate power plant to this Revell Porsche Junior 108 tractor. So I think this Porsche 917 12-cylinder engine sourced from Historic Racing Miniatures should fit just fine. The Porsche 917 is one of the most iconic racing cars of the 70s. It was introduced in 1969 to compete in the 5-liter Group 4 sports car class. The 917 engine was originally based off of a combination of two 2.2-liter flat sixes, which was then redesigned into a true boxer configuration without the offset cylinders. These engines were built for power, with twin overhead cams and twin spark plugs fed by dual distributors. Being air-cooled required a large cooling fan mounted on top. The original 4.5-liter configuration produced more than 500 horsepower, but that was just the beginning. The 917 went completely bananas when it became part of the Can-Am series in 1972. With further increases in displacement and the addition of twin turbochargers, some reported 1,600 horsepower could be attained in this configuration, which allowed it to completely dominate that series and be credited as the most powerful sports car ever raced. Now, let's get back to work and figure out how to get this engine stuffed into this little tractor. So here we have the little Porsche tractor as it sits. As you can see, it's sort of assembled. We're just going to put it over there. So, here's what everybody wants to see. Here is the start of the engine. There's a one-piece resin casting. I mean, 0 pinholes. I've kind of done some pre-marking. These are not pinholes. Here, these are actually locators for the cylinder head, or I guess cam covers. There's a thing over here that labels all the parts. We're just calling them cam covers because the cams are in there. Look at how nicely engraved those are. We know that this one goes on this side. Fits real nice because it has this little finger looking thing here on the top corner where the fuel injection pump goes. And the other side does not have that. And that goes like that. So we'll put those right there. And the next part is these, I think they're called the cooling ducts, that the fan will go here. And these, they have pins as well for positive location. They needed a little bit of cleanup to get them to fit nice and flush. And those would be really cool to paint separately. And then we have these pieces. These are the fuel injectors. And I have already drilled and pinned them for ease of assembly. And you have to look real carefully because they have the little indentation for the fan, and they are keyed left and right. So once they're pinned, all these pieces, there's the other one. Again, you can kind of see how that has the little cutout. And then we have the fuel injectors. Underneath, what's nice about this, it has separate headers. And, they've got a little bit of mold over. That's okay. We can wash that. As you can see, I've already pinned them as well. So what we've got to do here is how this engine is going to fit in the tractor is in the 91730, the turbos would be about back here. That's not going to work because that would be under the seat. I don't know, that might be kind of fun for somebody, but I'm just thinking I'm going to mount them in the front up here. So in order to do that, what I did is I drilled and pinned these so they would mount opposite of each other. So we just basically flip them around. And again, they have locating holes drilled with pins. They fit real nice. And then when you have rocker cover on, or it's not rocker, it's a cam cover. All that fits in there nice. There it goes. Next up, we have this piece. This is included in the resin kit, and this is to replace the part that goes in the Fujimi. But we kind of have a problem here, is since this is a trans kit for the Fujimi model, you don't get the fan, which is extremely disappointing, because for those that want to put this in something like that, you still gotta have the Fujimi kit, and I just didn't want to get a Fujimi kit. So fortunately, I have friends in the hobby, and one of them is a Porsche nut, and he provided the extra parts, including the fan. So now I have a fan and an extra shroud, which is good, because that, I think I put it in upside down. Yes, there it is. Now I have that whole piece. So that is approved. So, saying that we are going to do a 917/30, we got to have some turb skis. And so I have these from Hobby Design. Part number, as you can read, turbocharged kit, big size. Yeah, we want the big ones. And they are really nice. And we have 3 of them. That means we'll have an extra set, because we're not going to have 3 turbos. But those are really nice. You know, a lot is to be said about 3D printing and all that kind of stuff, that you can get turbos. Those are great. These, I mean, are super nice. No sanding required and no layer lines or anything like that. Good stuff. They even make them in 18th scale if you want some big turbos. So something you probably just heard me say over and over while displaying these engine parts is drill and pin. What is that, and how do I do it? Well, first thing, you have to have a drill. And so there's my drill, and with the appropriate bit for the pin. This is what I use for pin currently. I have all kinds of this kind of stuff, but this is at Hobby Lobby. Soft, quite a bit of it. And I just keep that bit in here at all times in this pin vise. So then they match, you just drill, stick that in. And when I cut them off long. And then I super glue them in, and then I trim them. And then you don't have to deal with a little small piece, because, I don't know, I don't even know if it has a price on it. It wasn't very expensive. And as you can see, there's plenty. So, yes, I wasted. It's not really a waste. It's for speed and just ease of building. So building this way creates a very strong model. And often it just requires a little bit of glue. So then you don't have to go back and worry about glue coming out, parts falling off, I drill and pin almost every part. It seems like it would take a lot of time. It actually doesn't, because later on in the assembly, it goes much speedier because I'm not trying to hold a small part. I know it's going to go there and go exactly where it needs to go. So get you some of that and one of these. The next part that needs to be fabricated are the intake tubes. The turbo had tubes that connected the tops of this, as I boot that out. So looking at that, I just decided to make them out of aluminum tubing. And so I have these, and again, drilled and pinned. And then I have another little piece I put in there just for a little bit of interest, because all of my plumbing will be made of this solder. And this is 3/32 by 40. It is actually rosin core, which I rather have solid core because this rosin will rot over time. And so when I do my final assembly, it will be painted and it will be sealed with epoxy to try to keep that from oozing out over time, because I've had models that were built decades ago with different types of solder that the solder is either sagged, done all kinds of weird scientific solder things. So, but I like this because this actually scales out to the correct size. As you know, solder is like real easy to bend and do tight stuff with it. So we have that, and next we will be, and as you guys know, it's hard to do assemblies on camera because you're looking at that and trying to find the parts, and there's another one. And that will complete those tubes. I see my pipe later is falling off. So to start the turbo plumbing, start at the exhaust end. And again, the pin that is drilled into the solder. And so now I kind of know where that's going to go. I also drilled out the turbo and placed another piece of aluminum tubing so I can have the outlet. And again, I haven't exactly decided how the exhaust is going to run, and so this is just kind of a mock-up piece. The intake side, again, has the pin, another piece of bent tubing that's also drilled and pinned, and I put this one on with just a little piece of super glue just so it wouldn't swing around as much, just so I kind of know how this is going to line up. The turbo hangs out there. And clocks the turbo. And we have one side basically set together. And that way it allows me to mock this up over and over, and I know how it goes together. The solder allows me to have a little bit of wiggle room when I'm adjusting it. And then the exhaust just fit in here like so. And now I've put the other side turbo on it. So that's looking pretty like that would work. Again, we'll probably have some kind of intakes on it, and I got to get the pop-off valve and the boom tubes or whatever those things are that release pressure for turbos. So that's pretty cool. So that's how the twin turbo system was added, and then you have the fan that will go in the middle of it. We still got to do the distributors and other kind of little assorted doodads, but you know, that's minor stuff. So the next challenge is how to get all of this into there. So basically, this a tractor has the engine and transaxle as its frame. This engine, not so much. So I've come up with this idea. So this piece here came with the engine kit, and it is designed to replace part C31 in the Fujimi 917, because that needs to do 917 kind of things. In order to make it do tractor things, I kind of just used it and, again, drill and pin, and took some evergreen tubing and just started making this cradle that then the engine can slide into. It actually does. It's just an extremely tight fit, as you can imagine, because tractor, and of course all my turbies are gonna move around, and then you gotta get it right in, and then it'll just sort of snap in place. So now I have the engine in the cradle. So basically, as I said, the cradle is just simply made out of evergreen 90 thousandths tube. And it's quite simple. And some other evergreen sheet and stock. And I have some stock like this. And some stock like that. They actually sell this kind of stuff at Hobby Lobby. Don't have a very good selection of it, but if a well-stocked hobby shop will have all of it. I highly recommend it. The next thing you kind of needed is, where does the gas tank go? You got to have some kind of fuel. And so I kind of decided it was going to have to go up in this area, because where else are you going to put it? Because we're going to have a seat back here, and we're going to have tractor wheels and, you know, tractor things. So again, with the evergreen, I made this tank looking thing, and it's got some tabs up here that will do something, and that will mount right up here in the front. And I didn't really like how it just kind of hung out there, so I made these pieces, again, out of evergreen, and it's just a piece of rod with a little piece of strip on it, and again, it's drilled and pinned. So I've put the two supporting rods across the top that then connect the fuel cell or fuel tank and probably oil tank, I don't know, might be a 2-in-1 kind of deal, and that connects. And this assembly is actually pretty strong, considering that it's held with nothing but pins and no glue. And so you might be thinking, why did I do all of this? Because we still got to get it in that. Well, the goal was, so this piece, so that piece will still fit like that. And now, that seems like a pretty good tractor frame. It seems like a pretty good place to stop, because we got to work out a way to get more tractor bits on this. More of that onto this. So stay tuned. We're just getting started. I got all kinds of crazy things planned for this thing. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. You guys know what to do, because I have all kinds of model car stories to tell. Thanks for watching.